Good afternoon all, and welcome to the first episode of the Over the Top of the Bar podcast. My name's Ben Green, and I will be hosting this podcast going forward. Thanks for joining. It's very much appreciated. If the content floats your boat, do remember to like, subscribe, tell your friends and fam, and let's get the show on the road. I do have a somewhat squeaky chair, unfortunately, so I will apologise for that in advance. The podcast, I'm going to try to keep this to roughly 10-15 minutes, very short. If your attention span is anything as short as mine, then you can't be hanging on for too long. So yes, this channel is going to be dedicated to the Premier League and all the clubs in it. And it's going to be, or hoping anyway, that it's going to be a forum for discussion and opinion for all of the clubs, and unbiased. Actually, I would say I'm a Liverpool fan, and I do have another channel called the LFC File, which has been running as a blog and podcast for some years now. But this is an extension thereof, which is not to do with Liverpool, it's to do with every other club, as well as in the Premier League. And so yes, a chance to get your views aired and shared. So again, thanks for stopping by, and if you do like the content, please do share with your friends and fam, spread the word, and let's grow this community. I've got two main topics today, hoping not to go too long into this, but the first one is going to be Tottenham and the resignation of Daniel Levy as the executive chairman. Now, as an outsider, let's say, looking in at Tottenham over the years, they've been the perennial underachievers, really. They've had a lot of great players over the years. I've written a few names down here: Bale, Modric, Eriksen, Harry Kane. As much as he's maybe a bit polarising, he's been a great player for the club and a great servant as well before moving to Bayern Munich. So yes, an interesting one that. And from what I've gathered, a lot of fans have always been upset that Mr. Levy seemed to, sort of take the money and run at the first opportunity. Is that right? Do you agree with that? Let me know in the comments. I think it's potentially a good move. And the reason why I would say that is probably because, he's been there, 25 years? And it's probably time that someone else had a go, to be honest. This will be my view. I think the best thing they've done in recent times is to get Thomas Frank as a coach, because he's someone I have enormous respect for. And he's always given Liverpool, tough games up to now. So I think that's been a very good move from Tottenham. Maybe that's I don't know if that's one of the reasons why he's gone. You could also argue the missing out on Easy as well from Crystal Palace. Maybe that had something to do with it. It looks as if he was a nailed on Spurs player, and then suddenly Mr. Arteta and company comes along and say, "Oi, would you fancy a bit of bit of Emirates?" And he's just sort of turned coat at the last minute. So maybe that's something which has pushed Mr. Levy over the edge. But I think he was a minority shareholder anyway. I think the main, I can't remember what they're called, but I know the recent chief executive has been a gentleman called Vinal Venkatasham, I think his name is, and he was previously at Arsenal, and I think from what I understand, he was responsible for getting Arteta on board. Which has changed Arsenal's fortunes in recent years, you got to admit, even though they haven't actually won that much, if anything at all. So yes, Arsenal fans, I'll be interested to hear what you think of that. Keep it clean, please, if you can. But interesting from Tottenham. Apparently they've rejected a couple of interested buyers as well. So, if you're a Tottenham fan, do you think it's about time that they sold up, or do you think this could be the dawning of a new era? Let me know what you think. Moving on, the next one is going to be Crystal Palace. Now, I was born in South London, in Croydon, actually, not far from Selhurst. They're my local club then, that would mean. I don't support them for various reasons, which we'll go on to in another episode, I guess. But I was, I mean, as a Liverpool fan, you're always gutted when you don't get the best player, or the player that you think is going to make a huge difference. And I think Gay would have arguably made maybe a bigger contribution to Liverpool than the signing of Isak. And I say that because since the days of Suarez, Sturridge, Firmino, Mane and Salah, Liverpool have always had a good attack. But the defence has always been a little bit wobbly. The last couple of seasons not, but is Van Dijk past his best? I don't know. We'll see as the season goes on. But definitely Mark Gay would have been a very good addition. And as I say, I think potentially the best one of the window, a very impressive window. But for Palace, I'm a bit gutted actually, because I always look out for Palace, of course, them being my local club. Over the years, I've seen them continually shoot themselves in the foot, going back many, many years. But I think Steve Parish over the recent years has tried to kind of bring them into the modern era, from being a sort of very physical, direct sort of team, into something a bit more stylish and current, let's say, more than stylish. And that started with Patrick Vieira, who I think he brought in Easy and Gay and Mateta as well, who I think didn't play for him. This is my personal opinion. Over the last couple of seasons, he seems to have come into his own. But I'm surprised at Palace, and I'm surprised that Oliver Glasner has been able to wield such power, considering, yes, he's bought the FA Cup, and well done to him for that. But having said that, it doesn't look as if he's going to sign a new contract. So he's not going to be around, arguably, to see the ramifications of his of his actions. I would suspect that Palace knew before or towards the end of last season that Mark Gay was likely going to go to Liverpool. I'm fairly sure. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that we ordinary fans, we mere mortals don't see. But obviously, I think people talk, and I think there's a grapevine, and they would have known, and you would have wondered why they didn't set about trying to find a replacement, even a replacement for Oliver Glasner. Actually, I would put that to Steve Parish as well. You've got a manager who it doesn't look as if he's going to sign. I don't see why he should be calling the shots, actually, to be honest. I'll be interested to hear what Palace fans think of that, because I think they've lost out on a fair bit of money. They got a reported 60-odd million for Easy from Arsenal. This is a good bit of business. I think they've sold a few other players as well, but he's the most high-profile one, and they would have got 35 million for Gay, and now they're not going to get anything. So substantially less than the 100 million that they could have got for the two players. And I think that would have gone a long way to getting in a couple of replacements had they done that, instead of waiting until the 11th hour to see what happens with Europe and all this kind of stuff. I think that's poor show from Palace, and I'm not being biased. I'm genuinely a bit disappointed in the way it's turned out for them. The Conference League and Europa League situation as well, that's turned out badly for them. But I think a lot of the fans would agree this is typical Palace. It's a bit of a roller coaster ride. A lot of my friends are Palace fans, and I'm sure they would agree with me. I'm sure, but you're welcome to let me know in the comments. I will be interested to hear. Yes, not great, and I'm not sure what the Palace fans think about Dougie Freedman as well. Could he have foreseen that? Could he have pushed for a replacement instead of waiting until the last minute? I don't know. I'll be interested to hear. And from the Liverpool side, it's been reported by Paul Joyce recently that Liverpool won't be going back in for Gay in January, and I think that's quite right. And my money, if I was a betting man, would be that Mark Gay is going to go to Liverpool on a free transfer at the end of the season. I would agree with Paul Joyce that this stuff about Real Madrid and Barca and Bayern and all this sort of stuff, Uncle Tom Cobley and his wife being interested, I think this is simply a bluff to try and get Liverpool to the table. But I think if Mark Gay is intent on joining Liverpool, then I think he's going to join Liverpool. And I would be a bit pissed, if you excuse my French, if I was him. But if you know that at the end of the season, if you can avoid injuries, you never know. But if you can just keep your form up and keep going, every day is a day closer. And it may be that they sign an agreement at the beginning, in January, that he goes at the end of the season. So I'm very interested to see how this all shakes out. Liverpool fans, what do you think? Are we going to get Gay next season, or do you think his head will be turned by one of the continental giants? Personally, I doubt it. I think he's going to be a Liverpool player, and I think Palace have lost a fairly material amount of dosh, I would say. Will it come back to haunt them? Probably. We'll see how things pan out, but I think that's pretty poor showing from Palace, to be honest. By all means, let me know in the comments if I'm talking crap or if you agree with me. I don't think I'm a million miles away from the truth, to be perfectly honest. So yes, on that note, I'm going to wrap this episode up here. Well done on England on their 2-0 victory. I think there's an own goal, wasn't there, on Saturday, and a Declan Rice effort in the second half. But to be honest, it was fairly unconvincing. But I don't want to knock England. They've been given a group which most England fans would admit is laughably easy, so they have no excuse in not to qualify from this group, to be perfectly honest. If the truth be told, it could be a lot harder. With all due respect to Andorra and the rest of the teams in the group, but this is a task that England should manage fairly comfortably. So on that note, I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you very much for stopping by. If you're still here at this point, I am very grateful to you. Please do like, subscribe, press the notification bell, and tell your friends and family, as I've said before. This would greatly help the channel out and to grow. And I would like to give a special mention to the Football Knowledge Hub on Instagram, who have been my first subscriber on the Instagram channel. So thank you very much for that. First follower on the Instagram channel. So thanks a lot for that. And of course, I have followed back in support as well, because I gather they're a recently formed channel as well. So on that note, guys, thank you very much for stopping by. Much appreciated, and looking forward to the next one. I'll try and do one of these a week if I can. And until then, peace. Look after yourselves. Over the top of the bar.